Thanks to its history and military might, Russia is a country everyone has heard of. But how many of you actually know the country? For instance, did you know that Russia is a federation? In this series, you get to learn a bit more than what you hear on the news. And today, we go all the way to the extreme east and discover the province of Primorsky. Hello, and welcome to 7 Facts. Primorsky Krai is one of the country's more than 80 federal subjects. It lies in the Far East District, not very far from Japan, but about 9,000 kilometers from Moscow. But despite this, it looks and feels like a corner of Europe, not Asia. 2 million people call Primorsky their home. So what can be said about Primorsky? Well, let's dig in and find out. Historically, this place used to be a part of Manchuria. But the expansion of the Russian Tsardom to the Far East saw Primorsky ceded by China in 1856. Thanks to abundant resources and rich wildlife, this area saw rapid development and many European settlers came here, founding nearly 100 new settlements in just 20 years. With the advent of the Russian Civil War, this region, together with other oblasts, actually became an independent country. Well, theoretically at least. For all intents and purposes, the Far Eastern Republic became a puppet state of the Bolsheviks from 1920 to 1922. It was meant to act as a buffer zone between Russia and the Empire of Japan, who used to occupy territories in the neighborhood. This almost failed, as there was an attempted coup in 1921 by anti-Bolshevik forces. Of course, it eventually failed. The Red Army marched in and occupied this republic, reabsorbing it into Russia. The capital city of Primorsky is a city a lot of people had heard of, Vladivostok. This is one of the main urban centers on the entire Pacific coast of Russia and is in fact the largest Pacific port. It's a beautiful city with plenty to see and do. Economically, it's doing great and tourists abound. If you're a train fan, you already know this, but this city is actually the terminus of the famous Trans-Siberian Railway. And in fact, the whole track was built to connect European Russia with this city. For a European, this is the farthest point of European culture one can think of. Before we get to the next fact, I'd like to ask you one thing. This video isn't sponsored, so perhaps you'd consider supporting this channel by becoming a patron. If you still enjoy my content, go visit my Patreon page and help this channel out. And with that said, let's go to fact number 4. So, Russia is big, like really freaking big. Naturally, that means that the country neighbors many other countries. Care to take a guess with which country does Russia have its shortest border? Well, that would be with North Korea. The 17-kilometer stretch of border with this infamous country is actually in Primorsky Krai. The only way to cross it is via a rail bridge, the so-called Friendship Bridge over the Tumen River. But it's probably not a ride for you. This crossing is closed to nationals from other countries than Russia or North Korea. One of the highlights of Primorsky's natural landscape is the Sikhote-Alin mountain range, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's probably one of the very few places in the world where typical northern species like reindeers, wolves, brown and black bears coexist with tigers and leopards. But this area is much more famous for something else. On February 12, 1947, eyewitnesses reported seeing a large object entering the atmosphere and crossing the sky. The object was a meteorite coming in at 14 kilometers per second and breaking apart some 5 kilometers above the surface. The blinding flash of light was brighter than the sun, and it, along with the deafening sound, were observed 300 kilometers around the point of impact. Prior to entering our atmosphere, this object weighed around 100 tons, but after burning much of its stuff in the atmosphere, only about 23 tons made it to the surface, breaking apart into smaller pieces. Russia's Pacific Fleet is headquartered in Vladivostok. and numerous military facilities of the fleet are dispersed around the city and the Krai. Submarines, corvettes, cruisers and destroyers, accompanied by bombers, fighter jets and military helicopters, all congregate in this area. Although this can be one hell of a view and you might get the urge to take the selfie of the century, be careful. These are military vessels after all, so make sure you're actually allowed to take the picture. Vladivostok is a city with a booming economy and lots of industries. Although this is generally a good thing, there is a bad side to this too. Many local ecologists claim that much of the city's suburbs are much too polluted and even go as far as to classify living here as a health hazard. And they do have a point. There are about 80 industrial sites within Vladivostok, with some close to the suburbs being particularly environmentally unfriendly. Add salt to wound, the local geography doesn't help much either. Winds cannot clear pollution from some of the most densely populated areas as they sit in low-altitude basins, which the winds just blow over. Although it's not the most polluted place in the region, it is a problem, one that, for now at least, doesn't seem to have any resolutions. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Leave your comments downstairs and don't forget there's a Patreon page where you can support this channel. I hope to see you next time. Bye.